A warm welcome to all our viewers to our series Natural Medicine Today. Today, health analyst Peer Zebergs from Mallorca is connected to us via Zoom, and we're talking about the latest developments and information about complementary medicine in cancer therapy, or causes of cancer. And I'm really excited to see what new discoveries there are. Hello, Peer. Nice that you are connected and that everything works so well with the technology.
I'm very happy in sunny Mallorca. It's about 21, 22 degrees Celsius here today, so that's bearable.
Wow, we have storm and snow, but also beautiful. Especially on the topic of cancer. What new findings are there now? What is the status?
Well, let me say that there have been a lot of findings for many years, and unfortunately many of them are misleading. There's been a lot of work done on cancer. After an act called the Nixon Act, President Nixon in the United States declared war on cancer. As a result, in the USA, from this point in time until today, approximately over $100 billion was spent on cancer research, according to certain information in various literature. In Germany, approximately 300 million is spent for cancer aid, for research and research work. So we also invested another 3 to 5 billion. And we still only have the options: cut it out, burn it with radiation, or poison it with chemotherapy. And the results also in the USA and also here are actually devastating, if you look at it. In recent years, the number of cancer deaths in Germany has increased from 200,000 to 250,000. Currently, this plays no role in any statistics. That's about 700 people a day. And Lothar Hirnes says, I didn't verify it, that 690 of them received chemotherapy. So 250,000 people per year on average. And the Robert Koch Institute made a prediction on their website last year that we have more than 500,000 new cancer cases for the first time. 510,000 to be exact. And then you have to say, that's a declaration of bankruptcy. Somehow we didn't achieve anything. Although at 100 quadrillion kilometres away, we can measure the shadow of a wormhole. We have technologies. If you look at the CERN data centre, we can measure everything. There's nothing we cannot measure. That's why I can't understand why you only ever go in one direction. And in the USA, all the money was used very heavily for research into oncogenes, so it was assumed that genes are the true cause of cancer. I think this attempt failed. That's why you have to look at alternatives today. There's quite a lot, and there's been a lot of that in history. I want to remind you of the Tesla high-frequency energy. It was then further developed in a different direction by Dr. Lakhovsky. In 1934, he published a book called The Lakhovsky Multi-Wave Oscillator. And there, it's in the opening, in the introduction on page 10 at the top right. I can remember it quite well, because that was such an important reference. He wrote, the apparatus was successfully used in Italy, Sweden, Belgium, Spain, Luxembourg, Uruguay, and so on. And everywhere the results have exceeded all hopes. I'd like to hear a sentence like that from classical medicine or pharmacy. Then, in the US, there was a Royal Raymond Rife. To this day, we don't know exactly how he did it. At least he spoke of plasma fields, but in the end it was all about optimization of the gel-like cytoplasm. 16 cancer patients who had finished therapy were given to him. Of the 16, in the first month, he cured 14, and for the other 2 he needed another month. Then there was someone in France called Priore. He also worked with frequencies. Royal Raymond Rife worked with destructive frequencies, killing things that trigger something. Priore worked with constructive interference, again with electromagnetic signals. He had a similar success rate. He was also put in his place by the authorities. Tesla radio frequency energy was banned in 1938. But today, we're a step further. There are so many new insights. And there, I want to mention a book that was published last September by a Cowan, C-O-W-A-N. It's about water, the new kind or the new biology of the water and cancer. And he summarised all the knowledge available worldwide. And that he had himself. He's been a practicing doctor for 35, 40 years and has actually had fantastic results with natural medicine and with high frequency.
How does he use it? How does he do that?
There are different approaches. Let's start with Russian space medicine. They've known for ages that there is no cancer patient without a lack of adrenaline. You think, what does adrenaline have to do with cancer? You have to take a closer look at that. We have insulin. Insulin brings sugar from the blood into the cell. The cell metabolizes it, and there is a residual sugar that has to leave the cell again. Insulin is the taxi for the sugar to get in. Adrenaline is a taxi for the sugar to get out. If I'm lacking adrenaline now, this taxi is missing. Now, in evolution, that would have meant that because of this sugar, the excess sugar in the cell, I would get severe diabetic symptoms. It could lead to loss of sight, could lead to a diabetic leg. It would have meant certain death in evolution. And then nature said, we have to gain some time, we have to do something. So what are we doing? And nature is incredibly awesome. I don't know if you know this, there was just a new recording of a cell. It's incredibly complex. You can imagine a cell like an organism like the whole of New York. And Western science says there are 100,000 biochemical processes taking place in a cell every second. It's just extremely shortened. They would have to think a little further. Then they'd realise Russian medicine has known for a long time that 10 to the power of 15 actions per second take place in each cell. That's roughly the number of all the ants in the world. So you have to start somewhere else. Much more is happening there. And now it's like this. Now I have this sugar in there and it has to go and nature has to say, okay, I have to find a solution or I'm dead. What is the solution? The solution is to change the sodium-potassium gradient at the cell membrane. If we have enough energy, we have a sodium-potassium gradient, so on the outside of the cell membrane we have 3 parts of sodium compared to 2 potassium ion parts inside the cell. And because it's a gradient, I always need energy that I have to supply in order to maintain the gradient, and if the gradient is like this, then I have an electrical cell membrane voltage of at least minus 70 millivolts. Then I have exactly the permeability of the cell membrane that I need, and then I have a gel-like cytoplasm inside the cell that ensures that the mitochondria can work really well, that enzymes, hormones and everything can work well. Now, nature does the following. Basically, it lowers the cell membrane tension, so the sodium-potassium gradient changes, and then this cell, at minus 15 millivolts, this is the beginning of a tumour or cancer cell, changes the metabolism to fermentation. And this fermentation means now the solution to the problem. 18 to 20 times more sugar is burnt than a normal cell could metabolize. That means I've solved the sugar problem. But that doesn't release me from the task of finding what was the real cause. Why did I lack adrenaline, or the customer? And then I have to look, is it the mold on the wall at home? Is it a psychosomatic trauma from anything? Was there an accident? Are there toxins in the body? Is it bullying in the office? Am I completely unhappy? Am I just eating crap? I have to find the real cause. And then theoretically the body would be able, if I find the real cause now, to eliminate this. Of course, I also have to work mentally, because why do I have a lack of adrenaline? Because I was in a state of stress or anxiety for too long. And if I've been in a state of stress or anxiety for a long time, the adrenal cortex, adrenal medulla, where adrenaline is basically produced, is exhausted at some point and can no longer offer it. That means I have to give these areas new energy, vitality, so they can build the adrenaline I need again. And the enemy of the story is if I continue to be stressed and anxious. There's a 3E centre near Stuttgart that is probably the leading centre in the world on the subject, who also use mental training 90% of the time with cancer patients, who have finished their therapy, that people won't get upset about anything that might call for adrenaline again. Because now I have to make sure that the adrenal cortex can recover and can build up enough adrenaline. So relaxation, nature, movement, everything that makes me strong, makes me calm, that strengthens the mitochondria must then be done.
Can't I start earlier before they get an adrenaline deficiency? Do the patients have something like hyperinsulinemia, so a hyperadrenaline production? So I can then somehow also determine an increased adrenaline production in the blood that I can go into prevention one step before?
I don't have to look that deep. You can see in all people 9 out of 10 are stressed today, or are in a state of anxiety.
OK, so we have too much stress on the adrenal glands in general.
Look, 120 years ago, you had to search for cancer patients. There was also a discussion, sometimes. We have cancer now because we eat poorly, because we eat meat now, or more meat or so. But that's nonsense. Around 1900, we had almost no cases of cancer, and they ate everything. I think the term vegan has only existed for, I don't know, maybe 50 years. So that can't be the reason. The reason is the poorer quality of what we eat. And then we're also permanently exposed to environmental pollution. Whether that's light pollution, the blue background lighting on the screen, whether it's electromagnetic fields that are permanently stressing me, which accumulate more and more, which cause more free radicals, whether it's low mineral or low vitamin diet. There's so many problems that need to be addressed now. And one thing plays a very important role, and that's the cell environment. We've known that since 1931, but that doesn't play any role in today's discussion. What you could do there, Dr. Otto Warburg is a 2-time Nobel Prize winner. He said in 1931 that no disease can develop in an oxygen-rich basic cell milieu. Not even cancer. This has remained undisputed to this day. So what do I have to do? I have to optimize the cell milieu. That means the cell milieu must have structured water. What is structured water? This is hexagonal water. Many people don't know the term at all, not even medical professionals. Many just don't know it. This is the most important food there is. With structured hexagonal water, I have a fantastic gel-like cytoplasm. This ensures optimal function of the mitochondria. These are my energy centres, and it ensures if the energy centres are working well, I have enough fuel. Adenosine triphosphate, ATP available, then I have enough energy to keep the cell membrane voltage up, and then I don't get a low cell membrane voltage. I need to get the cell membrane voltage up, and this high-frequency energy was developed further after it was banned in 1938. And today there's a device called the cell tuner, and I have that in my practice too. Unbelievable success. I can't even tell you about it, what we achieve with it. But what do we do with it? We make all the body fluids, and of course the drinking water beforehand, hexagonal. That means we structure it. Now, I've structured cytoplasm, and then this hexagonal water in the cytoplasm has some incredible features. One feature is it forms exclusion zones. So you have to imagine the hexagonal water like a molecular hexagonal ring. And then the hexagonal molecules on the right and left connect millions of times, and millions of layers are on top of each other. And in a hydrophilic environment, which is always present in a human body, these layers are always negatively charged, and the processed water outside is positively charged. What's happening now? These exclusion zone phases attach themselves directly to the cell membrane. And this exclusion zone in this hexagonal structure is crystalline-like, and nothing else can be in there. No foreign matter, no poison, no viruses, no bacteria, nothing. And then these foreign substances and also the acidification molecules are pushed away, and in particular the sodium molecules and sodium ions, which are now basically inside the cell membrane, where they don't belong, or only to a small extent, they have to be pushed outwards, and that happens via the exclusion zone of this cytoplasm. So I already have a solution, that the ion gradient, more sodium outside, potassium inside, is maintained. Then I have a high electrical cell membrane voltage. And how important that is, you can see that in the heart. Classical medicine says cancer is based on the mutation of cells. If that's right, then every organ, which is made up of trillions of cells, can also get cancer. But that's not the case. The heart doesn't get cancer. What's the reason? The reason is that the heart is an electrical organ and always has a high electrical cell membrane voltage. And then there's another substance that's made in the body, strophanthin, made in the adrenal glands. It ensures that I have optimal cytoplasm in my heart cells. And I always have the optimal sodium-potassium gradient, which is a prerequisite for a high electrical cell membrane voltage. The body has its own solutions for this. We just have to support the body. The body could fix it. A tumour cell could also be reformed into a healthy cell. This is the normal process, but we affect it in such a way that we acidify it. We're irradiating it. And of course, you have to change your diet. And I'm very happy to follow the findings of Lothar Hernese, who once published a book that's called Chemotherapy Cures Cancer and the Earth is Flat. And he has ways of doing that. It's called the 3E Centre. Stage 1 is always detoxification. I need to detox the whole body because we are so bombarded with toxins. It starts with bad drinking water. And we get so much crap and far too many carbohydrates, too much sugar in the body, we have heavy metals, aluminium's free in drinking water. Glyphosate. I can't get water that basically has no glyphosate in it. For 20 years, they allowed 100 million tonnes of glyphosate being dumped into the environment. Aluminium, chlorides, fluorides, fungicides, herbicides, pesticides, plastic nanoparticles. Crazy. And all of that has to go.
Please tell us the most efficient way to detox. I always hear so much, and in the end the result is, well, didn't do anything. You have to try with that method again. So from your point of view, how do I detoxify really efficiently as an expert, that you really demonstrably also get the toxins out?
Point 1 is drinking hexagonal water. Because hexagonal water is detoxifying and purifying, because in this exclusion zone, as I said before, foreign matters can't stay. So these foreign matters are being pushed into this positively charged process water and can be discharged via the lymphatic system or perspiration or whatever in any bodily fluids. And it can also be exhaled much better. And then I have to use different methods. Often spirulina or chlorella was used. Or then there's tinder fungus, or there's zeolite, many swear by zeolite. Then there are chelating agents. There are a number of possibilities, but a good basis. The most important thing is to have cell-permeable water, which basically has a detox effect. This is simply hexagonal water. And it almost doesn't matter. This is a basic requirement to be able to detoxify well.
Where can I find that in nature? Because everything that basically heals has to be somewhere in nature.
The original drinking water in nature was hexagonal water. It was fresh spring water. That doesn't go through any pipes and then gets destructured and becomes dead water and is processed with aluminium, with all kinds of crap, so to speak, or, as we know from water research, for example, Hunza, there's a high mountain valley in Pakistan. And that's been studied since 1960. Since 1969, it's also been possible to measure that it has precisely these hexagonal structures. And these people who drank that every day were so healthy, or so vital and healthy, that it's said that they even live an average of 120 years. Whether that can be proven by birth certificates, I can't say, but many scientists have dealt with it. And they then noticed that the most important reason for the high vitality of these people was hexagonal water. And these are these hexagonal structures. And now, another aspect plays a role, and this water is also a bit deuterium depleted. And now Mr. Cowan also stated in his book about the new biology of water and cancer that with deuterium depleted water, that is basically the heavy hydrogen which is normally found in drinking water, with 180 parts per million in it, is reduced to 80 parts per million now. If you use it as a cure, it's fantastic for detoxification and for optimizing cell functions again.
Can you explain to me again what exactly happens with the deuterium? So for me now, as a layman, I also had the water now. Then I also heard it is rejuvenating. What is happening now?
Deuterium depleted means, well, we have water molecules and then there's heavy hydrogen in there. Hydrogen is a very special atom, perhaps the most important thing there is. It was also the first thing to form. And a water atom, according to the periodic table, is the only atom that doesn't have a neutron. And hydrogen, if it has a neutron, then it's called heavy hydrogen. And when it has too much heavy hydrogen in it, the surface tension changes, the structures in the water change, and that's disadvantageous. And then if it has less, it's only positive, then I have optimal cytoplasm. And when I have an optimal gel-like cytoplasm, a structured one, everything just works better. The mitochondria function better, the cell membrane tension's maintained, and then I no longer have hyperacidity. So with hexagonal water, I can also counteract hyperacidity. That's one of the main reasons we have so many diseases today, chronic diseases. We must combat acidification. And some take base powder, but that is a huge disadvantage, that I then reduce the stomach acid from the strength, and then I have an ammonia gas formation towards a leaky gut problem. So it's not the long-term solution. I have to work with nature, natural means that the body knows. And this is hexagonal water, as I said, our original drinking water in evolution. And then there are always devices like the cell tuner that makes hexagonal water. If you put them 5 to 10 minutes to the side of a 5-litre can, then the water is energetically purified and becomes hexagonal. So the structured water is what the cytoplasm badly needs. And Warburg rightly said, in an oxygen-rich basic cell environment, no diseases can arise, not even cancer. And it can also regress, but I have to optimize the cell milieu. That's the most important point. And I can do this with hexagonal water, ideally with a little less deuterium in it, that is, deuterium depleted, so reduced. That would actually be a relatively simple solution. There's a lot of things that still need to be done. High-dose vitamin C, high-dose vitamin D3. Also, for the whole story of viruses, this would actually help a lot more than other things. Then you need zinc, iron and stuff like that. Then NADH to basically optimize mitochondrial function, that even more ATP is formed, because the tumour cells also have a disadvantage. They are very inefficient when it comes to energy production. For example, usually if I have a completely normal metabolic process and I have 2 glucose molecules, then 2 glucose molecules would become 36 ATP molecules. And if I have a fermentation, so a tumour cell, there will only be 2 of them. So 18 times weaker in terms of efficiency. That's why these tumour cells need a lot of glucose. And it used to be said that with a ketogenic diet, so to speak, you can starve the cells. You know now that that's not quite right. This is the right direction, but it's not enough. And there you have to top it off with hexagonal water and deuterium depleted water. Then you get relatively close to the result where you want to go.
What are the first reactions now, just quickly before the end of the broadcast? How do I really notice that I have changed my water? What reactions happen in the body where I can already feel that things are going in the right direction?
With good hexagonal water, what do? We optimize the cell environment. Now, you have to know water molecules make up 99% of all molecules in a human body. Then you have to know water is involved in 98% of all metabolic processes in the body. So, what do I have to do, for God's sake, to improve overall health? I need to optimize the quality of the water. On the one hand, it's what I drink, but on the other hand, it's also the bodily fluids, and I can do that with a cell tuner. In 5 minutes, I made bodily fluids hexagonal. And what you feel the quickest is, of course, you feel better and have a lot more energy. Because this water can also absorb 3 times more energy and deliver it to the cells, and then there are 3 mechanisms of action. How hexagonal water is the cause that the body can produce energy, or on 3 more levels just because it has a hexagonal milieu. So energy is certainly the first point, and a lot of pain and inflammation disappears as well, and you definitely have optimized detoxification in every way.
Okay, great. It was so interesting with you again, dear Peer.
I hope so.
It is every time. I hardly get to ask questions, but I just like to listen to you. Great. If you really want to find out more about hexagonal water and this whole topic in depth, are there good sources, possibilities?
There is quite a lot of on quintessana.ch, and I also publish things there from time to time. There's also a link if someone needs personal advice to me or something.
Great, then I wish you a wonderful time. Enjoy the sun on Mallorca, and I'm pleased that we can keep exchanging views on this technical path. Thank you very much, dear Peer.
Thank you. All the best. Bye.
Thank you. Dear viewers, that was a small update from point of view of complementary medicine on cancer. It is always important that we form our own picture, that we can also take our doctor on board with us and keep our eyes open and use the possibilities which we also have here. If you want more information, simply go to our website QS24.tv. There you'll find more exciting interviews with Peer Zebergs or with other guests on all the different topics. Thanks for watching and see you soon. Bye.